Welcome to A State of Mind. I am so happy to be bringing you a new episode of this podcast because I know the power of conversations to change lives. You can learn more about each episode in the show notes below, and you can support our podcast by checking out our sponsors with the links below. It would also help us out a lot if you left us a review or gave us a comment or just shared about this with your friends and family. So I'm here today with Tanin Matin. Tanin, thanks for being on the podcast.
What's up, Julian? I feel so grateful to be here with you.
Yeah, It's been a long time coming.
I know. We've been talking about this for a long time.
And how would you like to introduce yourself, share about who you are?
Yeah, such a beautiful question. My name is Tanin, and I'm a spiritual teacher and a master energy healer. I've been in this domain of work for the last decade, and I had a certification for about 5 years where I was training trauma-informed spiritual healers, and last year I dissolved that business. It was a really necessary ego death and identity death, and there's a new emergence in this next 12 months of a school that I will be building for people to really master their intuitive intelligence, their psychic abilities, and their spiritual gifts. And yeah, it's just, that is my passion in the world, is really helping steward the consciousness of the beings that are coming through and the beings that are already here, to really understand the power that exists within our consciousness and the ability to stabilize our awareness to receive the purity of the channel that we all are for that wisdom.
I love that. Yeah. So important to be trauma informed. We shared a lot about trauma on this podcast. It's such a big topic, but it's important to have an awareness of that, how it operates, work with it.
You know, I think it's so important to recognize that, like, trauma is not just like the big experiences. It's the little things that our nervous systems didn't have the capacity to metabolize. And these little traumatic experiences, or just the unprocessed energy and emotion, it distorts our awareness, right? So like, we could be having a conversation and you say something and my unprocessed trauma is like fixated on what you said. I'm no longer present. I'm no longer a channel for that intuitive intelligence, for that divine wisdom to flow through. And so it's like so important for us to learn how to liberate our systems. For me, it's like to create stabilization of presence, of a peaceful state as much as we can. And obviously, I'm still on that journey.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
That's a good word, stabilization. My understanding of what that means in the context we're talking about is really deepened and evolved. Like, how would you speak to that and why it's important?
Yeah, I feel like as I've evolved on my healing journey, my spiritual journey, I'm just recognizing that, like, my ultimate goal is to stabilize those awakened, expanded states. It's like you can go have a psychedelic experience and it expands your consciousness, but can you stabilize the places that you've touched? And so the trauma healing for me helps purify my nervous system, helps purify my energy body so that I can exist with ease in a state of peace, in a state of love, and like challenging experiences come up in my life and I'm just stabilized in this state where I can meet it in a way that's easeful in love, right? It's like, I find that like a lot of spiritual communities, they talk about peace and love and let's be love, but it's actually like a skill to stabilize that state of consciousness and through the nervous system, given just the fact that, like, as humans, we've existed in so much fear and survival for so long. So we have to purify that fear, the survival, the shame, the guilt, all of it, so we can just stabilize.
Yeah, there's this idea of states becoming traits. It's like a state of mind or a state that you experience, a state of consciousness, a state of being. Could be a momentary experience. You know, it could include something like feeling love for everything or everyone or for yourself. But then for that to become a trait, that stabilization, something ongoing, something you're living with, something that's your lived experience. It's so important, and it's not so easy, not so common. It's easier to have the state experience. than to stabilize the trait.
Than to stabilize it as your baseline.
Yeah.
I totally agree. It's I would say like at a certain point of the healing journey and the evolution, like we all kind of realize that's the goal, is to like make it really easeful to just exist in a certain state of being. That's like what Joe Dispenza talks about. We were just mentioning his retreat weekends, and his work is really around like stabilizing that state of consciousness of love through meditation, through his practice, and it's just one avenue. And I'm curious what your experience was like. We like briefly talked about it, and I know that
it was a week-long meditation retreat here in Denver.
Oh, cool.
And it was super powerful, and I really realized like I saw these qualities in him that I've seen in other great meditation teachers. And I was really just impressed with the depth that he took us. I mean, there's like 2,000 people there, something like that, maybe more.
Yeah.
So the language he's able to speak, be able to share in a way that so many people can connect with and resonate with, and that really skillfully avoids so many of the issues that are so triggering. Like it's very spiritual, obviously, but he's avoiding specific religions or specific issues, which I think is actually skillful because it helps you just like drop in really deep. And then he's a great coach. Like he had this quality of pushing us at our edge in a compassionate way. And of course, it's up to you what you do, but the invitation there was to go deep, to meditate for an hour and then come back and do it again and then come back and do it again. And it's not so easy, You got, I don't know if I'm giving away some of the secrets here, but one of the last nights we got up at 4, or we were there at 4 in the morning. So we started at 4 in the morning. And if you got there at, I don't know how strict they were, but if you got there at 4:05, the door was closed, so and almost everyone was there. I looked around the room. This is cool. Yeah.
What was your experience after the retreat? Like, did you notice a shift in your being? Yeah,
it directly relates to what we're talking about. I mean, we're in that retreat environment, go really deep, and be able to maintain it to some degree after. I have a strong meditation practice, so I have a pretty strong daily practice. That's become pretty routine for me. But after that retreat, I spent some more time with his guided meditations, and I've incorporated in my daily practice this future self practice. And I'm, the word imagination, I think, can have different connotations, but I see it as this really beautiful, powerful part of our consciousness. We can imagine. And so I'm imagining my future self and embodying those qualities, and then kind of coming back to the present moment and feeling like I'm on this path of going to that place. And part of it relates to narrative therapy, which is there's been so many different schools and forms of therapy. It's kind of overwhelming and confusing, but there was this form of therapy called narrative therapy that I studied a little bit, and it's all about the story that you're telling yourself, and can you start to rewrite your story and ask yourself the question, what is the story that I'm living? And if you can develop your mindfulness and your awareness, you can notice when you aren't feeling good, or when you're triggered, or when you feel like you're kind of having a bad day or an off moment. If you can kind of wake up in that moment, or at least be curious about it, there's some story that you're living or telling. And there's these negative beliefs there, like the world is a hard place, or I can't trust other people, or I have to do everything myself. And so I'm really like kind of shifting my approach to meditation to be more like, how can I, rewire my brain? Like people are talking about that more and more, which is a different kind of language than traditional Buddhism, which I spend so much time with. But how can I start to live the story that I want to be living, and rewire these thoughts and shift them? And if you can do that consistently day after day, it'll start to show up throughout the day. It'll start to show up in your dreams. It'll start to show up in interactions. You'll be able to kind of shift these things more and more, and notice more when you're in an old story. And it makes a huge difference. I'm using the word story. It's really connected with beliefs, the power of belief.
100%.
So it's really deep stuff. And I think there's approaches to meditation and spirituality that, and I love these approaches too. It's like, let's drop into pure awareness. Let's drop into awake awareness, and let's be there. And I don't need a story. I'm in awake awareness. And that's beautiful. Blissed out. Very liberating. And there's truth in that. But the reality is, when we're engaging in the world, like our minds actually evolved to tell stories. Like as human beings, we understand the world and ourselves through stories.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a deepening respect for the power of stories and beliefs. And rather than trying to transcend them all the time, to embody them, use them skillfully, they can be more, it can almost be like clothes you wear. You can change your clothes, you can change your outfit, you could change your attitudes, your beliefs for different times or situations, or we can evolve. It doesn't have to be stuck with one forever, but end of the day, if you're interacting in the world, there's some beliefs operating there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really love where you're going with that, because it's like the state that we're in this moment, the reality is like we do have these identities, you know, even as a spiritual teacher, right? Like part of this ego death that I went through the last year was how attached I was to being a trauma healer and this version of myself. And there was so much attached to the story. Like it gave me a sense of worth. It gave me a sense of meaning, right? Like there were subtle power dynamics that were playing out for me. And it's like now I exist in a similar story, but there's a purification of the distorted energies that were underlying the story. So it's really interesting because it's like I went to Joe Dispenza's conference in, I want to say it was 2020. I think that was when I went. It was like during COVID time. And I went to his retreat and I was like deep on his and studying his work for 4 years, like applying it to my life, manifesting my dream reality. I was living in California and I just really loved my life. And I went there and it was really interesting because I expanded my energy so much, but then when I got home, my nervous system couldn't hold the amount of energy I expanded into. And so I actually went through like a 6-month contraction state because my nervous system, like I, at that point, had no idea what trauma healing was. I didn't even understand the nervous system. Like, and so it's really like, it actually shifted my perspective of this kind of work where I was like, oh, it's one thing to like meditate and increase your energy, but does your nervous system have the capacity to stabilize it? And for me, so much of the trauma that was existing in my nervous system at the time was related to my ancestors and what happened in Iran in the Iranian Revolution. Like my family went through so much suffering, so much terror, just like horrific things that are not necessarily like my story to share, but knowing that like my cells were made of the fear of like whether you're gonna live or die for 2 years, and like it just being such, just like really horrific situations. Hi, honey. Oh, do you feel that? Yeah.
I'll get my dog here.
So sweet. So it's like in some ways like it shifted my work entirely. It shifted the fundamental way I was teaching spirituality, because at first I was like, changing your thoughts and your beliefs and your stories, undeniably important. Because if you're not perceiving your reality in an expanded state and viewing what's really possible for your life, the energy is not going to direct towards that. And it started to have me question and get curious about this deeper layer for me of like, okay, but then also what do we do with the trauma of our ancestors? What do we do with our childhood trauma and all these unprocessed things if we're just meditating in love and the vision that we're creating, but we're not metabolizing some of this deep pain? Is that bypassing? Like, you know, and so I just started to like go down a different path of like, how can someone fully liberate themselves if they don't touch some of these deeper places, you know? And I know that we've gone through a program together where that's a lot of the intention is to like go touch those places. Yeah. And so I'm curious your thoughts on that too.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, we met at this program called the Luminous Awareness Institute.
Yeah.
It's a 2-year training, which was really bringing together really deep meditation from the Buddhist tradition and a lot of psychology and therapy and trauma healing and ancestral work. And there's a lot in that program. Kind of overwhelming.
It was a journey.
But I think you're touching on something so important. I think it's good to have choice.
Yeah.
And it's good to be able to have practices where you're going into yourself, loving yourself, touching in with your true nature is so important, so foundational, fundamental. And then to be able to work with ancestral stuff or other stuff that's coming up. And of course, we don't always have a choice. We have to be able to work with what's coming up in our experience. You know, in the Buddhist tradition, there's the bodhisattva vow. And it's the vow to, in different ways you could talk about it, but to be compassionate, to help all beings to awaken, to help all beings to be free from suffering, and you dedicate your life to that. And in traditional Buddhist practice, you say that every day. You say that actually before every meditation. You form that intention before you do any practice, any spiritual practice, or it could just be any, even going to the gym. You could form that intention in a sense and come from that place. And according to those teachings, that's going to make the power of whatever you do amplified and multiplied. But at the end of the day, it's like, part of rewriting the stories for myself has been like, when I do find myself getting triggered, which happens to me, or having a bad moment or a bad day or a difficult thing, can I reframe it for myself? So it's like, oh, this is an opportunity rather than a negative. And it's an opportunity to help heal and transform what's happening right now in my experience. It could be being stuck in traffic. It could be an argument with my partner, which we all know can be so difficult, or it could be a difficult thing with a client that I'm working with. And it's like, the tendency is so, I'll speak for myself, such an ingrained tendency to want to move away from that or see it as something bad or wrong or what's wrong with me or how do I get back to when I was feeling so good? And to reframe that as like, oh, here's an opportunity to work with what's here, and this is the path, this is the work, and we hear that from spiritual teachers all the time in different ways, but it's just so deep. If you can make that shift in that moment, it can change everything. But it doesn't mean that it like magically fixes things, but it's like all of a sudden you're not trying to get somewhere else.
You're actually like being with what is and accepting what is and choosing a more loving perspective of your current situation versus like staying in the anger or staying in like the negative emotion. And I really feel that. And it's interesting because like my path has guided me to do some really deep somatic work around my lineage because I am an Iranian woman and my soul's dharma is to speak, right? And Iranian women, when you speak or you're in your power, they're literally being killed right now. Literally.
Actually,
this is happening right now. And so it's like, like I was born in Iran and my family, I still have family in Iran. And so there's like a visceral feeling that I have that like, if I speak or if I'm seen in my power, that I will die, which is not a common experience that people have. Right. So it's like me trying to shift the belief of like, no, I'm safe. It's totally fine for me to like share my voice isn't going to liberate the visceral feeling that I have that I'm going to die. And the only thing that's actually supported me in doing that is touching that terror that exists in my cells. And as I've done that, I've been able to like liberate myself from that. And
beautiful. So important.
It's so important because it's like, I think, and I share this because sometimes I think people can get really caught in like, why is it so hard for me to shift the belief? And sometimes it's because it never started with you. It was something that's so much deeper than you. And like really getting to the root of it or the core of it or understanding like, oh, this might have actually come from my lineage. And for my awareness to be able to go to the core of like where that comes from in my body, to feel it, to liberate it, it really starts to shift your experience of reality deep, fundamental way.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're doing a good job of sharing your voice from what I've seen. So
thank you. We've been doing some work.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much there. I think we all have ancestral trauma. You know, we're humans, any living being on this planet. But for you, it's not ancient past. It's not even 2 or 3 generations past. It's right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I think there's a lot of people from the Middle East and even I would say it's like it's all happening right now. Even if something happened a long time ago, it's still living in your cells. It's happening right now, you know? So it doesn't matter how long ago something's happened. Like, obviously it's very present in my lineage and what's happening in my country and the people, and that does amplify an impact of it. But, you know, even something that's happened to your grandmother, your grandfather, you know, like that can carry on in your body and literally distort your perception of reality through the lens of terror, for example. Like something that was really interesting, about a month ago, I sat with 5-MeO for the first time. And I was like intuitively feeling called to sit with this medicine, didn't really know that much about it. And I come home from my travels from Bali and my partner's like, I'm going to sit in 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, can I join you? And I sat with like a beautiful facilitator, like truly just like so attuned, such a sacred space. And it was the 2 of us. And I touched so much terror in my body. And the beauty that I found with this medicine was that it gave my nervous system the capacity to touch an enormous amount of terror that was existing in me. And afterwards, I noticed how the relationship with my partner significantly changed. And I could actually see how that terror, and I could feel that it was coming from my lineage. Like I saw what happened to my mother during the revolution. I saw what happened to my grandmother. And I just kept hearing like, I will feel it all. So we will all be free. And my throat was shaking and my mouth was shaking. And like, I could just feel this massive liberation happening. And after that, like the flow of love between my partner and I has been so effortless, where before I didn't even notice how hypervigilant I was. Like if he were to say something or do something, and I've done a lot of work, you know, I've done a lot of deep healing work, a lot of trauma work. And it's like my system was like still on this, like on guard. And it was the terror of my lineage of like women not feeling safe, of, just like the trauma. And it was incredible to feel what it's like to like no longer live with like that depth of terror in my body and how it's impacted every area of my life.
So powerful. And you said that was your first experience with 5-MeO. And it helped you to touch that terror and help bring healing there. Yeah.
I find that like, you know, the medicine path is not for everybody. I wouldn't actually recommend it for everybody, but it's been an incredibly profound and impactful part of my journey. And what it's really supported me in doing, and I've always done it in like very ceremonial, sacred spaces when I like do healing work in it, but it's allowed me to like touch some of the deepest trauma that like has happened in my life. My father was a drug addict and passed away when I was 7. And so there was a lot of trauma from like that part of my life. And there were certain things that like my mind was just, it's like, wouldn't let me touch it. And I had done EMDR work. I had done all the things, right? Like brain spotting, like you name it. I tried it. And it was really like going down the path of psychedelic healing that allowed me to liberate my nervous system, my body, my awareness from some really deep pain points that just existed on my soul's journey. And
Amazing. Yeah. You mentioned EMDR. It's a really wonderful form of therapy to help heal trauma that I do with people. trained in that. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's something I've specialized in over the years, and can definitely access altered states.
Oh, for sure.
With that. So there are other, for people listening, like psychedelics can be so healing and powerful, but like you said, not for everyone. And there's so many other avenues we can take. But I think really deep trauma healing is almost by definition a kind of altered state. I mean, you're leaving your normal state of consciousness when you're doing that kind of process.
Yeah, I do that work a lot with my clients as well. And, it's the way that I do it is like I'll bring their awareness into that dimension of time and space where the trauma happened. And so, they may have had a trauma from childhood, from adulthood, and we like go into a really deep state together, and we travel to that timeline and we re-imprint that timeline with a loving and healing experience versus the trauma. So we meet, I'll just say it's like their inner child with what happened, and like their adult self comes and meets their inner child and like re-imprints in the matrix a totally new experience, and it shifts the entire timeline. It shifts how it lands in their body. It shifts how they perceive that experience, actually. And it can happen like that. And so you don't need psychedelics by any means to rewire and re-imprint those traumatic experiences. Yeah, there's so many different modalities.
Yeah. And part of that healing, like we were talking about earlier, will be shifting the negative beliefs there. It'll be shifting the perceptions.
And processing
the meaning that we give it.
Yeah. And the feeling of what was unfelt or like didn't have the capacity to be felt in that moment too.
Yeah.
It's like,
right.
The way that I see it is like when there's those experiences, our awareness our consciousness is like frozen in that time and space. And it's frozen in fear or shame or whatever the emotion was. And so when you bring your awareness into that timeline, and then you can like metabolize the experience and then imprint like safety and love, it literally frees up your nervous system, your body, like you can be more yourself, like that part. Cause like before I started trauma healing work, like I would kind of feel like fragmented. Like I would be like, and I'm like, what is happening? And now that I understand, I'm like, oh, there were all these parts of me that were like frozen in time, Yeah. Did you ever feel that way?
Yeah.
I was like, why am I acting so weird?
I've had my own journey with it, and it's ongoing. But yeah, I think that's a good way to say it. Like these parts of ourselves that are frozen. Yeah. We could even talk about your parts of your soul if you wanted to go there.
Totally.
And then letting them thaw, unfreeze, letting there be a free flow of energy and information. Yeah. And you mentioned, I kind of want to highlight the 5-MeO DMT experience you had. Did you have the experience of blasting off or of leaving? Like a lot of people report an experience of, I guess we could call it ego death, or just completely going beyond time and space. But not everyone does. Yeah.
My experience was, you could call it blast off. The way that I would articulate it is that the medicine brought me into the enlightened state of being, what it's like to exist as pure consciousness beyond the suffering. And it was really beautiful to exist in that state because the medicine was sharing with me, and like I was having like a whole experience. People were like, you had all of this awareness, and like I had a lot of dialogue with the medicine and with my awareness, but I was existing just in this like incredibly pristine field of consciousness, and in that there was like a bliss to it. And the medicine was like, this is your goal in this life, to stabilize this state, to like find your way to access and stabilize it. And then in that, I started to feel like it's like the essence of Tantra, like not like neo-Tantra that's like all around the sexual energy. It's like how like pleasurable life can feel when you're in union with God. When you're in union with God, the universe, the divine, however you want to call it. But like when you're existing in that state, like life is just so good. It's like so good. And so the medicine brought me into like that state of being one with, and then like how good it can feel. And then it brought me into in order for us to exist in that state, we have to feel. And then I went into the terror. And it was like so sacred. Like the whole experience was like touching this terror can be so sacred and it can feel so beautiful. It doesn't have to be scary. And that was my experience of it, was like, yeah, I'm touching this like emotion that most people are terrified of, you know, like terror is a scary emotion, you know? And it was like, I was like, oh my God, it's so beautiful for me to be able to touch this, to liberate it for like myself, for my mother, for my grandmother, for my lineage. And like the medicine was just like, this is the way that we liberate ourselves, is through feeling all of these pieces. And so, yeah, that ceremony like shifted so much for me. And it also just like was a beautiful reminder of like why I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful story to share. And yeah, we say in therapy a lot, feeling is healing.
Yeah.
We can really directly, authentically, fully feel what's here to be felt.
Yes.
But what you just shared is so beautiful because you experienced that, your true nature, where there aren't any problems or issues or suffering. And you can touch then you can touch the spaces that need healing.
Totally.
And it's a both and. Yeah.
And I've like found on my journey, I would say the more that I've stabilized the state of like what we would call like awake awareness in my day to day, it's like the field will orchestrate a situation. This is like what I've come to realize is like, say I'm like stepping into building this school, right? And I'm committed, my intuition, the channel is like, this is what you're here to build. Then all of the things that are within me that are in some ways limiting me, blocking me from being the version of myself that can hold building the school, the field starts to orchestrate in this way to like bring it up. It's like, oh, you're afraid to be seen. Here you go. You're afraid to use your voice. Here you go. So it's like all of these things will come up. And I find that when I've stabilized this state of awareness, I'm literally watching the field orchestrate this perfect situation to bring up my like wounding that's so necessary to be integrated within me so that I can actually become the version of myself that is claiming this vision.
Yes.
You know? And so it's like, it's kind of like a cosmic joke. It's kind of enjoyable. Like, I'm like, of course this is happening. Of course this is coming up. Like, and I start to have fun with it instead of being like, like, why is this happening? I'm trying to build this school and like all this stuff is coming up. It's like, of course this is coming up because it is necessary in order for me to evolve to become the version of me. Right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun.
Makes sense. Yeah, I was going to say, I can completely relate with this path of opening up my voice. I think that's part of why I'm doing the podcast. And I use my voice a lot, and it hasn't always felt natural or easy. And there's been a lot of process, a lot of work, a big path there. My grandparents survived the Holocaust, so I have that lineage. And in some of my work and experiences and process, I've seen like those elements for why it's been hard for me to talk at times, because I think part of how some of my ancestors, I can't speak to all of them, but some of them definitely survived by, keeping quiet. And I think we're all holding that. And I think if I look at social media through a positive lens, which is not so easy to do today, but it's an invitation. Anyone can say something and share it. And there's something really beautiful and powerful about that. And I think a lot of people can relate to what you're sharing about this opening up the voice. And it relates, in my mind, to, like in the Buddhist teachings, you hear a lot about body, speech, and mind. And the speech quality, body, speech, and mind is basically a framework for describing all of your experience. And the speech quality is really, yes, it is the words you use, your speech, but it's also your energy. It's your energy body. And so it's possible to have deep insights in your mind or consciousness and to not be able to articulate them, right? We all know that in different ways. And so there's so much in the speech, and the speech is the nervous system, right? If we want to go to that place with it. So I think as I work to understand and integrate these different frameworks, that quality of speech, it's the expression, it's the play, it's the energy, and it takes it takes it takes some effort, different kinds of practices to really work with the speech element.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're having me like really think about this too. I'm like, wow, what have I been doing that's helped me open up my voice or my expression? I think it's so beautiful. First of all, I think you're crushing this podcast. So amazing. And I also have this curiosity around like, yes, there's practices of singing. I've actually like recently started singing and I am like really not good right now. But just even like using my voice for that, and it does open up this energy center more. But what I also feel like is the more that you connect with like the essence of your soul and like the essence of like who you are on the deepest level, there's a transmission of your authenticity, of your knowing, of your truth that is felt. That like, in some ways, I'm like, I don't know if you can practice that. Like you can practice opening up your voice, you can practice the cadence, but there's also just like an embodiment of your soul that like allows an authentic expression where you can have range, you can be playful, you can say things and fuck up a little bit and it's okay, and people feel that, they feel the genuinity, I don't know if that's a word, but of what it is that you're saying, and it's felt. And like there's something that I feel so deeply in like the future of, so like, there's just so much happening on social media right now, like everyone's speaking, which is beautiful. I'm like, yes, like speak your truth. But I think people's systems are going to be starting to really feel when someone's offering a transmission that's like embodied and authentic versus like, I'm going to go on Claude and I'm going to figure out the right hook and the pitch and the and like
right.
People will start to feel like, is it coming from like this mental game of you just want to hook me in, or is it actually an embodied transmission? I think that there is a skill in the fact that like we have a very short attention span now. So like we do gotta hook them in and like, get their attention. And, as I evolve, I was actually off social media for 3 months for the first time in 10 years.
Wow.
Because I've been on social media for a really long time. That's building my business. Thing. It was huge.
What did you notice doing that? Did that mean you weren't opening it up on your phone at all?
I deleted all the apps off my phone. I didn't. Yeah. It was amazing. Honestly, I was like, wow, my life is...
You're just emerging from that now, right?
Literally this last weekend.
Okay. Amazing.
Yeah. I like came back out and I actually have an app on my phone called Be Present because I'm very clear that my life is infinitely better without social media in it. And it is a very powerful platform to inspire, to empower, to influence. And, the work and the purpose that I feel called to do, that is a platform that I feel like is necessary to come in right relation with. And so it's been really a journey of me coming in right relation with social media in its entirety. And me being completely off of it, I recognize like, okay, I want to serve people. I want to share my message. But right now I have this app that I'm only allowed to open the app 3 times a day for 10 minutes max.
Wow. And
I haven't actually opened the app today. So it's like, I like having like containment around it. Whereas before I would just, I'm sure everyone can relate. It's like you pick up your phone and you just like go straight and you scroll for 10 minutes and you like forget that you were even scrolling. And then 45 minutes goes by and you're like, what just happened? I know that I was on that train, but I noticed like, I just enjoyed life a lot more. Like I was just so present to life. I wasn't, being like I don't even know if you want to call it an influencer or whatever. Like I've built a brand on social media. And so I've documented a lot of my life and my journey and my day to day. And so not having to think about like, I'm going on a walk, I should take a photo of my walk so that I can post something. It's actually given me a lot more joy in my life. And it's offered me a creative challenge of how can you still inspire people and make impact, but still have sovereignty in your day to day. So it just, had me ask different questions.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm gonna check out that app. I've been trying to find different ways to navigate that.
It's amazing. I love it. Yeah. Highly recommend. I actually found out through an ad that the tech companies tried to like get this app off of the platform altogether because they were actually getting people off of their phones.
Oh, wow.
But luckily, all the people who were using the app fought back and were able to get it back on. But it truly does help so much.
Yeah, I need that.
Yeah, I like have
so
it.
addictive.
I have it set where it's like I'm not allowed to look at my phone until 9:30 in the morning. Like it has all of my apps locked, and then I have,
interesting.
And then I can set times where I'm like, okay, I'm going to be present right now for the next hour. And then I just hit the button and then it locks all of my apps. So then if I want to go on an app, I have to consciously like choose not to. And it's just a nice way to like contain myself.
Yeah, I've been doing a good job with having healthy boundaries around my phone, like in the morning and evening.
Yeah.
But then when I have been putting more out on social media, and then I get sucked into watching all this stuff. And sometimes it's uplifting and positive, but there's that quality of like being sucked in and you've kind of lost your conscious choice. And if I'm honest, I mean, I've experienced that too. It probably happens, more times than not, like just opening up the YouTube app. It's like, and I actually made a little video about how addictive YouTube is because I was working with a client who, he got laid off from his job. So he's going through this big life transition. And he had like a severance package, and he had, had a few months, but I was supporting him and like, okay, like these are the steps you're going to take. Like he's going to get a new job now, and we'd had this session where I was like, okay, wait, let's slow down here. Like, what are you actually doing with your time? Like you haven't been working for 2 months, and we went through his day, we went through his week, and what we discovered was he's like so addicted to YouTube, and there was a huge cost to that. And it was taking away his sleep. It was increasing his anxiety, his depression, and it was taking away his sense of agency to be able to do things because he would have things he was going to do and they just wouldn't happen. And like he was just getting sucked into YouTube. And as he was describing it, I realized he fit like all the criteria for addiction, like from the DSM, like in psychology. And I showed that to him, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna have to take this a lot more seriously because I used to be working and I'm getting sucked into this. It's a real thing. And it's like, it's kind of funny and we can laugh about it. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's worth actually taking seriously because it's your life. It's your time here on this planet.
Yeah, that's what I realized. I was like, my time is so precious. And I think it really started for me because I'm writing a book right now. And like, it is a devotion to write a book. Like the level of discipline that I need to have with my time and my awareness to be able to like write my book and work with my clients and also build this school and be in a relationship and also have friends. It's like required me to become really discerning around my time. And I realized what you said, like I was addicted to social media. Like I wouldn't even think, and all of a sudden I'm like on the app and I'm like, how did I end up here? And so
totally. Well, so there's a classic part of addiction is called denial. It's not a river in Egypt. And I've done so much work with people around addictions, and it's I'm like, oh, that would never happen to me. But then like when you're in it, it really does happen to you.
And we like normal. It's so normal.
It's so normal. It's
like you go to the air, literally anywhere you go. I was in Bali and I'm like, everyone's on their phone all the time. We're at the beach watching sunset and there's people on their phones. And I'm like, whoa, this is actually kind of scary, the world that we live in. Like I'm at a grocery store. I'm at the, everyone's just always on their phone. And I'm like, it was like a wake up call where I was like, I just don't want to be that.
Yeah.
And I still want to be able to like serve and offer really valuable information and content, but like keep my sovereignty, you know, and like
keep your sovereignty,
keep
keep
my
your awareness.
Power,
yeah,
you know,
keep your
like,
power.
That's my, like your energy, your awareness, what you focus on, that's your power. And I think so many people live in like anxiety. One of the things that I noticed is like not being on social media. I'm not like taking in so much information. I'm like, my nervous system isn't designed to like take in all of my friends and what they're doing every single day. Like most of my friends are on the platform sharing their message, sharing their story. So I'm like, it's a lot to take in. And when I was able to disconnect from it, like I was actually able to write my book and I was actually able to like build substantial things because I'm not distracted all the time. And for me personally, like it takes me a little while to like disconnect from everyone's energy to like come back into my center to really create from my own channel. And so if I'm like writing for a little bit and then I get on social media and then I'm like, oh, like I think like I'm just scrolling for a couple of seconds, but then you don't even realize how much you're processing of like, oh, so-and-so is doing this and how does that make me feel? And you know? Yeah, I just realized like how much of my energy, even after a scroll, is going to like stabilize my system to come back into presence to then create. And it just was, in this chapter for me, it's just, I don't have the bandwidth for that.
Yeah. So the best way to look at it is we are in the Matrix. We're in that movie.
Yeah.
And in that movie, they're living in a simulated world. And their life force energy is being consumed to run the machines. And that's basically our situation right now, where we're in the Matrix, we're in a simulated world. The average American is checking their phone over 200 times a day. That's
wild.
That is wild. There's scientific studies showing that. They've been tracking people, studying it, 200 times a day, checking your phone. And part of the problem, like you could say like, okay, what's the problem? The problem is the simulation isn't real. The simulation lacks feeling, lacks meaning. And so more and more of our life is being spent in a simulation that's not real, that lacks meaning. And people are reporting increased anxiety, increased depression, pervasive feelings of meaninglessness. And it's because we're in the Matrix.
One of the things that I will say, the first time that I opened up my social media to go back on it, I was probably on it for like 5 to 7 minutes. And I noticed that I was like my energy significantly dropped afterwards. And that's when I was like, whoa, this is actually not serving or supporting me in this moment of time. And I so feel you. It's like we're in this simulation and like I experience social media as this energy that like sucks me in. Like that's my like when I really just tune into like the energetics of it, there's like a sucking quality. It's like sucking my life force. It's sucking my energy. It's sucking my attention. And I was like, and I just like kind of got to like the most subtle dynamic of what was happening with me and the app. And I was like, whoa, like, that just like doesn't even feel healthy. And now as I've created a lot of boundary around it and coming into right relation, it feels different. I've also like muted a lot of people just so that like I'm basically just seeing like my like 15 best friends just like nice. Checking in on what they're doing and like supporting them and their brands and what they're building. And then I'm like off.
Yeah.
You know? And so I've created agreements with myself of like, I'm going to use this app to serve, to support, to inspire, and to support the people that I love in my life. And outside of that, I'm just going to be disconnected from it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. I think everyone should do that. Like really like ask yourself, like, what do I want to use this platform for? Because I will say like there was a part of my journey when I was like, really just hungry for information. And social media is a great platform for that. It's a great platform to get inspired, to learn, to find people that like end up changing your life, you know? So if you're on that journey, like by all means, like utilize it for that purpose. But I think having an awareness of what is my intention for this platform? Like, why am I using it? So that you can come in right relation with it. Of like, okay, if I'm using it truly to gain information and to learn, how can I like make my feed and the people whose stories I see be people who like inspire me and make me feel good and like teach me. Right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it'll shift over time. And I think it's going to be kind of like smoking. You know, it's not that common to see people smoking cigarettes these days. 50 years ago, everyone was doing it.
Yep.
And so I think it's going to be a similar thing. But, well, here's another question for you. What is intuition?
Yeah. You know, for me, my intuition is this deep part of myself that has a sense of like direct knowing. It's like, I don't even know why I know something. It's not coming from thought or logic, but it's a sense of my truth. It's a sense of, I would say like a landing of knowing of my truth. And, I live by way of intuition in every decision that I make in my life. And if I don't feel an intuitive knowing, I won't make a decision around a thing. I don't try to force it. And so, I'm like, I feel so passionate about supporting people in really developing their intuitive intelligence, because I think in the era of artificial intelligence, we're reaching for AI to answer our questions and to tell us like how we feel or what's going on in our psyche. And we all have so much deep wisdom and knowing within ourselves around certain things. And really learning how to master that gift and skill, I feel like in this age that we're stepping into is going to be one of the most powerful skills that we can have is our intuition.
Yeah. What would you say to someone who says they don't trust their intuition, or they've listened to it in the past and it led them astray, or something like that?
I would say that those are two different things. Like, there may have been times where you feel like you trusted your intuition and it led you a certain way. I would say it is a skill to be able to read the field so deeply, because sometimes what you may sense as your intuition could be a trauma response. It could be a survival strategy. And so really mastering the ability to discern when your nervous system is actually in a survival response, or if it truly is your intuition. I mean, it's taken me years to cultivate that kind of awareness and knowing and distinction of the two things. And for someone who doesn't trust their intuition, what I would say is like, if there is a desire, if like you have the yearning for it, like you have the capacity to develop it and recognize it as a skill. Just like, right now I want to like learn how to sing and I suck. I'm like, oh my God, and like it's a skill, and like you just have to practice. You have to learn the nuances of like what I would say with intuition is you have to understand your awareness, like really understand the skill of, where is my awareness? Is it bound in a strategy? Is it actually in a pure state of presence? And then also learning your nervous system and like, what is my nervous system responding? Because for me, in accessing my intuitive intelligence, I'm always tracking those things. I'm like, okay, I'm getting this intuitive hit. Where is my awareness right now? Oh, I feel it's bound. I feel it attached to this thing. And then I'm kind of like unraveling this intuitive knowing with these maps that I've cultivated. And this is ultimately why I'm building this school, because I think there's such nuance with really being able to get that intuitive hit and then track yourself and really discern these subtleties so that you can actually refine to the deepest truth of where you're being guided and led.
Is intuition something that you need to take some time to really be with, listen to, or is it just an instantaneous like knowing?
This kind of like brings me to like the first thing that comes up for me is like, I think everyone's design is unique to them. Immediately I kind of go into human design and how everyone's energetic aura is really different. How they respond to the energetic field is really unique to them. And so that's part of it, is like really understanding your language of intuition. Some people just, they know. It like comes in their sacral and they just know. There's some people that need to like go through like an emotional cycle and really feel into like, okay, this intuitive hit landed, but let me like feel into it for a period of time. And so what I would say is like, everyone has their own language of intuition. There's no like one way to be intuitive, right? It's like you actually have to decipher your unique intuitive intelligence. And so I think that's when you look at if someone's trying to teach you how to be intuitive, like it's so unique. to the person. Like some people are very intuitive in their felt body. Some people they hear things, you know, it's like even our intuitive gifts can be different. And so I would say it's like,
beautiful.
It's a gift to be able to learn your unique intuition. And that's really like why I'm building the school that I am, because I'm like, every single person is so unique. And there's not one course that's like, follow A, B, and C and you'll figure out your intuition. You know, it's like, no, like, let's learn your system and like how your system uniquely discovers its truth.
I like that. Yeah, one thing I got from human design that has been really true for me is to slow down and give myself more time, like even as long as a month before I make a big decision. And I think I really appreciate what you said. Different people are wired differently and operate differently. And for me, it's really helpful to actually really slow down and be with something for a while. Yeah. And that's gotten me in trouble. And it can feel frustrating because our culture is so fast. And it can be a pressure to like figure stuff out or make a decision. Yeah. Yeah, being a reflector is so interesting in today's world and our decision-making process because of being a reflector. It's that 28-day cycle. And what's interesting is like at first I was like, okay, I have to wait 28 days. And I was like trying to follow that cycle. And what I realized, and this is actually part of what like inspired the school, is like, there are certain times where I just know I don't need 28 days. Nice. And like, there's times where like I need 28 days or like I need to go through like a cycle, and there's a process in the cycle. And so, it's recognizing your unique, like when you know, it's like, there's a moment where you know, and then there's this interesting dance too of like fear. Because sometimes you know, and then there might be parts of you that are like, I know I need to do this thing, but I'm terrified. Or like, I feel unworthy, or like, who am I to claim this big vision, right? And so then you're working your intuition with layers of your own parts and emotions that need to be processed, right? So there's a lot of nuance to following your intuition too, because you might intuitively know something, and then from that knowing, it triggers a survival strategy that then distorts your perception of your knowing. Yeah, that's well said. Yeah. So. Yeah, it's actually bringing to mind something from my past where I had this intuitive knowing that the relationship I was in was not the right relationship for me. It was not the right person. And it was so clear. And I was just kind of dumbstruck by this intuitive knowing. And I sat with it for a while, and it took something like 9-10 months before the relationship finally ended. But the intuition was spot on. But the fear was triggered, the survival stuff was triggered, my trauma stuff was triggered. My whole life, I was like, what does this mean? Like, how do I? And I guess looking back at it now, I can give myself some grace. But I have had regrets that I didn't end the relationship sooner because it wasn't healthy. It wasn't a good dynamic. Yeah. So. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that one. I can resonate with that story personally. And I think that, again, it's like when we learn this skill of like not only understanding our intuition, but then being able to work our system, right? And our parts. Like, I'm sure at the time that was happening, you didn't have the level of skill and awareness that you do now to be able to like navigate your experience, or definitely, you know. So it's like when like I genuinely am like, this for me, I'm like, this is like, if I could have one skill, it's like this is like mastering, understanding my intuition, and then becoming masterful of like navigating my parts and my emotions to be able to actually like follow it. I'm actually reflecting on it. So if I'm going to be totally honest, it actually took 1.5 years for a relationship to finally end. Wow. And part of what happened is I had that moment. It's kind of rare in life to have like a moment like that. I had this like moment of clarity around it. But then she was studying abroad. So we had like 4 months where we weren't together. And then we got back together and we were trying to make it work. And it's easy for life circumstances to keep you going in something, you know? So Yeah. It's a big learning for me. But I think part of the learning for me there is to have grace for myself, to love myself, because like what you said is so true. Like that's where I was at that time. And just because I saw that in that moment doesn't mean the right thing to do is to immediately break up with her. I don't think that would have been quite the right thing either. So there is some middle way there.
Yeah, it's like trusting your process and trusting your journey,
Yeah.
Trusting like the timing, and we can never change things in the past. We can only learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like there's so many things in my past that I look at. I've had a relationship in my past that I knew very early on that I shouldn't have been in it. But again, like the state and the stage of my development at that time, I had little awareness around the traumas that were influencing my decision making. I had no idea the nervous system even existed. Like there were so many things I just didn't have awareness of.
Right.
And so we got to give ourselves grace
for
the process. And like my deepest prayer too is like in the future, and it's like part of what feels like my dharma, is that like this becomes common wisdom. Like just how we learn like multiplication and math and things that I'm like, long division, I could not tell you how to do that. Like it's like we should be teaching children how to really tune into their inner knowing and master their nervous systems and be able to understand their emotions so that they can just clearly be guided on their path instead of like bombarded with all this conditioning and construct that is not actually true to them. And in a recent ceremony that I had this last weekend, actually, I was receiving this wisdom that like children that are coming in have such profound wisdom and consciousness already cultivated. Their soul comes in with all of this wisdom and they need to have the right conditions for that consciousness to emerge, for that wisdom to emerge, instead of us trying to fill them with like, do you like soccer? Do you want to do this? And like put all these constructs on these children. They actually like, we need to be curious. Like they're wise.
Yeah.
They're wiser than, some of them are wiser than we are.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how do we actually teach them how to understand their awareness, understand their intuitive gifts, understand their nervous system, and learn how to like read and count and do basic things so that they understand like how to be a human, but really actually get curious about like, what do you already know? And like let their channels emerge through.
Yeah, it makes me think of Rudolf Steiner, who was a spiritual teacher who helped develop the Waldorf schools. Based on him, and that they have a saying, "Follow the child."
Yes,
I think there's a lot to that.
One of my best friends went to a Waldorf school, and like he is one of the most brilliant people I've ever met in the sense of like how his brain works, like the way that he solves problems and challenges, and the way that he thinks is so brilliant. And like, I can tell it was because of the way that he was educated at the Waldorf schools and like the way that they were asked and the way that they were taught how to learn was, I don't know all the nuances of it, but what I know is like, he's cultivated an incredible path for himself because of the early childhood development that he had. Yeah.
I really think we're in a time where the light and the darkness are both more and more intense. And children being born today, I think you're right. There's like so much potential, so much wisdom, and all the technology has so much positive potential to be used in a good way.
Totally.
And then there's also all the negative sides that we're aware of, and 3-year-olds on their iPads and all the things that are working against them. So it's just this amazing mixture of really good and positive development and a lot of like real challenges. And I think basically what's happening is our technological growth is so fast now. It all can be used for good things, but the more the technology grows, the more potential for good, the more potential for bad. And it's like nuclear power. We could power the whole world. We could blow up the whole world. Now we've got these smartphones. Now we have AI. You could use AI to educate yourself on anything. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Or you could use it to hack a computer system or build a bomb or whatever it is, people, there's so much potential downside. So I think that's the human condition. We're just in this, but it's becoming more and more extreme, and I don't know where it's all going to go. It is, I am worried that things, it just seems so theoretically easy for one bad actor to like really mess things up as our world becomes so technologically advanced and so interconnected. So
I so feel you. And what I would say is that like our perception is so powerful, and like what we perceive about things influences the field.
Yes.
And so if we perceive it through the lens of fear, we're feeding that consciousness. And for me personally, it's like not to be ignorant to the possibilities of the potential downfalls, but to really like for me personally, just stay in my lane, like stay in like what I'm here to fulfill, because we can get so distracted. Like we just live in a world of distraction. And like even allowing our awareness to like spiral in the worst case scenarios takes your energy and your power away from the way that you can impact, empower, and influence right now. And so there's so many things in the world, and AI especially is one of those things where it has the potential to do enormous good and enormous harm. And it's like, I'm holding the frequency and my energy of like, how do I just continue to serve good, to feed that and allow that to like emerge. And I think the more people that are holding that and serving that, it starts to influence the field.
Yeah.
That's the only way. I'm like, that's the only thing that I really have power of. And so I'm going to stay in my sovereignty and in my power of like, what can I actually influence is how I look at it.
Yeah.
Because I could totally go down that spiral too. But I'm like, no, it's just like, it's not worth my energy.
Yeah. Yeah. Clean up your corner of the universe day after day. Set your house in order. Do the best you can and leave the rest to God. That's kind of where I've been at with
That's where I'm at. I'm like, I'm just going to show up and do my work and serve in the way that I feel called and like trust, like, and prayer is strong too. Like if there's something that you're afraid of, pray for the like positive of it to be, like feed that energy with your consciousness. I've been like, prayer has been a really interesting technology that I've been working with more deeply, I would say, this last year, and it's profound for me. It's literally shapeshift my reality in ways that I could never imagine outside of just like, wow, I prayed for this. And recognizing like the same thing of like setting an intention. It's like if you sit and you have your, like I sit and I have my tea every morning and I just like hold my prayers of like, the energy that I want to admit. And I have like on my altar, I have like little crystals that symbolize like my parents. And like I have a little item on my altar that symbolizes like everything that I'm cultivating in my life. And so I just spend a moment like bringing my energy towards those things. And I've noticed for me, it's shifted so much of my reality in a beautiful way. So
beautiful. Yeah, I'm a big fan of prayer. It can be so powerful. And interestingly, you don't need to belong to a specific religion or believe in God to prayer. Let's go back to the addiction piece. I've worked with so many people recovering from addiction who have found prayer to be so helpful and so powerful. But if you ask them, like, do you believe in God? Do you believe in Jesus? They might say, I don't know, or they might even say no. But they found the benefit in praying. And it's, it's so powerful. The other thing you're sharing that I really appreciate is we can take responsibility for our own perceptions. We can cultivate positive perceptions. We can see the goodness in the world and other people. We can see beauty in the world and other people. And that is a gift, and that's powerful. And that helps you. It helps everyone.
I feel like that's like, I don't know, it's just like the path that I'm here to learn and here to walk. And I've noticed it's like, what happens when we just take full responsibility for ourselves to like live in beauty and live in joy, and like let that be the perception of our reality, and let that inspire others to perceive in that way. And like, how can that just be a ripple? Like if every person takes responsibility for, how can I just like view my life as this beautiful experience and find the beauty in even the chaos and the pain, you know? Like, even for example, when I was like feeling all the trauma of my lineage, I was like, wow, like how beautiful that like I get to touch this and liberate it and feel it for all of them. It's like, even in that moment, it's so beautiful and so sacred. And it's just been a practice of mine, and practice is what makes more practice, and it starts to shift your way of being in the world.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, it was so good. I feel so grateful. Like, yeah, it's been beautiful to witness your evolution, and we've known each other for so many years, and just to like walk alongside you on this path has been beautiful. And everything that you're building and creating in the world and impacting is just really inspiring.
Oh, thank you.